Our mission is to encourage and uplift women to birth their ministry and accomplish their mission. Together, we are the difference in action for positive change. Two humanitarians, Drs. Anita McKinney and Tamisha D. Walker, are changing the world by giving voice to women around the globe, encouraging authors, marriages, mothers and wives to live out their ministry on mission. Join us Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and spread the word as we reach out our goal of making a difference in the lives of 200,000 women. Welcome to the show.
Hello. We are so glad to have you all here. Welcome to our next episode of Ministry on Mission. This is Dr. Tamisha Walker, and I'm so excited to have you here. This is going to be such an amazing show. Okay, so as you know, I have the immense pleasure of hosting this show along with Dr. Anita McKinney. Ma'am, how has it been?
Hi, everyone. It's been great. It's been really great. I'm so excited to bring our new guest on for today. I'm looking forward to some great conversations, and I have so many questions as always. And so I'm looking forward to having this conversation and really just learning more about our special guest. So without a further ado, let me introduce her to you. Her name is Ty Boone. Ty Boone. I'm so excited. She hails from Alabama and is a developer, manager, impact maker who funds worthy programs and services for you. In addition to strategic program development, fund development, and technical assistance for organizations and institutions, she offers nonprofit success education, trainings, webinars, live workshops, and the capacity building support needed to ensure that you are ahead of the game. She is a certified nonprofit consultant with formal degrees and training in psychology, public health, and community health education. With more than 20 years of experience in academic and clinical research, community program planning, nonprofit management, and development, she has a reputation for helping people secure and sustain nonprofit status without the traditional headache or hassle, while equipping them with the tools necessary to increase their capacity for nonprofit success. I am so excited and delighted to welcome Ty Boone to the show from Ty Boone Enterprises, LLC, and Ty Boone Consulting. Welcome to Ministry on Mission. We're so excited to have you here. Welcome, Ty.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. The whole Alabama way. How y'all doing?
Hey, from down south, right? I love it. Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us some about you. Tell us about Ty Boone Enterprises and Ty Boone Consulting and everything Ty Boone. Where
you told them everything already. Like, I was listening to you and I was like, yep, that's me. That's who I am. That's what I do. But yeah, I've been working with nonprofits actually a little bit more than 25 years now. My work started at the university. I was working at the University of Alabama at Birmingham as a clinical trials administrator, as a research manager. I was doing all kinds of stuff in research. And that's when I happened upon my first grant. I ended up writing a grant with my PI at the time, the principal investigator of a project I was working in psychology, and ended up getting $1 million in funding, right? I was a little girl. I was 19 years old. And I was like, you know what? This is kind of cool. I kind of like doing this thing, right? So from there, I really got into partnering with smaller organizations because at the university, we saw a lot of them struggle trying to get the funding that we were getting at the university level. So one of my jobs was to work with these smaller organizations to help them to kind of step up and come up, meet the baseline so that they could also be able to get funding. What I found out is that a bunch of them were raggedy, right? This is why I say unraggedy. A bunch of them were raggedy, meaning that their systems were not together.
Right.
They didn't know how to manage funds. They didn't know how to, even if they got funds in, they didn't know what to do with them, how to use them to grow and expand their organizations. So they struggled a whole lot. And I was like, you know what? There should be something that can be done to help these little organizations, because little organizations are usually the ones that do all the work, right? If you're coming from grassroots or you're coming from a small community-based organizations, you usually do a lot of work and you get no money. Most of these organizations were paying for things out of their pockets, and they kind of sat back and watched these universities who weren't really doing a whole lot of work, other than, y'all from the university like wasn't doing a whole lot of work. But they were getting all the money. They were getting millions and millions of dollars because they knew things like evaluation that small organizations did not know, right? They knew how to manage their programs. They knew systems, and they knew accounting, and they knew accountability, those things that smaller organizations did not know. And that's why they didn't get the money. So I decided, you know what, long story short, after I did a whole lot of other stuff in between, some of that stuff included me, teaching. I've taught at 13 different colleges and universities in the areas of nonprofit development and management, epidemiology, statistics, research methods, a whole bunch of stuff. After that, I kind of came back to my love of wanting to help small nonprofit organizations move from startup and struggle to sustainability and success. And that's what brought me here. And here I am.
And here you are. Wonderful. Well, hey, I love. And what gets me excited is the whole title of your program, right? Be Worth Funding. How did you come up with that title? And I just love it. I think it's genius to have people think about, are you actually even worth funding? So tell us about how that came to be.
Yeah, Be Worth Funding it started out with me being on Facebook. If anybody follows me on Facebook, I talk a lot of trash on Facebook, y'all. Because people on there, sometimes I get a little bit frustrated, and folks asking for grant writers, and people are asking for sponsorship. A few years ago, folks started coming to me, asking me all this stuff, inboxing me on Facebook, Ty, can you help me get $200,000 in sponsorship? And I go, okay, yeah, tell me a little bit about your organization. And then they wouldn't have an organization, or they would have a $20 budget and they want a $200,000 sponsorship package. Could you write a grant for me, but you didn't have financials and things like that. So, the people that you serve, the populations that you were meant to serve, are truly deserving of funding. Right? If I'm homeless, or if I'm a kid and I don't have parents, or if I'm in one of these situations where it's really not my fault, I deserve the support that people are giving me. But the organizations who are out here doing the work, sometimes they're not worthy of the money, right? Worthiness is it's hard to put a value on worthiness, but it comes from internal things. And a lot of times these organizations internally are a hot mess, a hot, raggedy mess, and they're not worthy of the support that they seek, which puts the populations in a bad situation. Because, like I said, you have populations of people or group of people that you serve, whether that's kids, whether that's elephants or whatever, that really deserve what's out there for them. Nobody deserves to be homeless. Nobody deserves to be hungry. But if you're going to be the organization who's in charge of this thing, you have to be internally worthy to manage the funds that people are going to give you. This is other people's money. Most of the time when you're working with nonprofits, you're looking for grants, you're looking for sponsorship, you're looking for donations from other people. If I were to give you my money, I want you to be worthy of it, not just deserving.
Yes. So Ty, I do see what you post on social media. And I am usually screaming when I read your post. I am laughing so hard because you will holler, don't be raggedy. Oh my gosh. And then the scenarios that you give, just like some of what you said here, but you actually go into detail. When you say, don't post on social media, just asking for a grant writer. Like, what? No, make sure you have pulled yourself together, and you actually can be looked at when you talk about your financials, your P&Ls, profit loss, all of that. And you're like, did you register your business? Oh, okay. You registered your business, but you didn't take it was no more steps. You just want us to write a $2 million grant and or proposal and think you're going to get funded for just whatever in the world it is that you want to do. And Ty, I have heard you talk to different companies and to different people. And Ty, you made me think twice. When I met you, probably a year and a half ago, probably, maybe even 2, when I met you and I saw the information that you were giving, and I was just blown away. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. I know I have this and this and this, because you have a list. You'd be like, get this together. And I was like, oh, I got 4. but I don't have them other two. Wait a minute. Let me make sure that I have my things in order so that I can step out and actually accomplish the things that I know God has called me into, right? So I super appreciate that. And that was before you came out with this whole unraggedy movement. Like, don't be raggedy. Like, this was before you came out with this. But baby, I see where you are stepping now. So can you tell us a little bit of how you transitioned and used this as a part of the Be Worth Funding movement? And now I see you coming out with stuff to lead us in the right direction. Ty, what you got going on right
Yeah,
now?
I mean, and Tomisha, and I say it like that, Tomisha, okay? That's my disclaimer. I just say your name funny like that because I'm from Alabama. Some people just don't know, right? So I'm in here and I'm on Facebook and I'm talking how I talk and I'm doing what I do. But you have individuals who start organizations or individuals who are hired on into organizations who just don't know. Most of the time when people start their organizations, especially if you're starting from scratch and you're at ground zero, all you know is to get a determination letter, get approved for a nonprofit, and then go to work. That's all you know. Some people don't even know that part. It's like, okay, let's go out here and do that. I came here with the Unraggedy Be Worth Funding movement so that you can know there's no nonprofiting 101 for people who are wanting to start nonprofits that they are required to take before they start a nonprofit. I wish it was. I wish there was something out there that says, hey, you cannot get a determination letter unless you did this thing. There's nothing like that exists. So because nothing like that exists, I said, you know what? I need to teach people how to be worth funding now. Maybe they'll buy the book, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll get the workbook, maybe they won't. I got a podcast coming up too later on in the month. Maybe they'll listen to it, maybe they won't. But if they do, they're going to be in position to get funding and get funding more consistently. The problem is, you might get a grant from Walmart. Every once in a while, you'll have a fundraiser, somebody give you $5. Your board may give you $3 if you got a board. But what is the difference between consistently getting funds and not consistently getting funds? Your level of raggediness. If you are raggedy, you're going to find yourself getting Walmart 1 month and not getting anything for the next 8 months and don't know how you're going to fund your organization. But once you get your internal processes together, which is what these books I had, I got this book, Be Worth Funding, that's the book. I got the workbook right here, right? Workbook that goes through exercises, practical things about how to fund your organization. Sit down with your board and your team and work this thing out. Otherwise, you're going to be behind. And I talked about the universities when I first came on, and the fact that they were always ahead of the game. They were always getting millions of dollars because of the things that they did know, and how our organizations, when I say our, I'm talking about people listening to this podcast. Our organizations are not getting those things because of things that we do not know, right? That we know we can get a grant, but we don't know how to get one. We know we can get sponsorship, but we don't know what kind of positions we need to be in to seek them. We know we can get donations, but we don't know who to ask. We don't know when to ask. We don't know why to ask. We don't even know what we're asking for, right? So Be Worth Funding, the Be Worth Funding movement, the whole Not Being Raggedy initiative is to help people find out what they don't know. And how are we supposed to address people? How are we supposed to complete a grant application? How do we communicate our impact? How do we stop going out here just doing a whole lot of work and not getting anything in return? Because that's what's happening, right? We're spending a lot of money out of our pockets. We're doing a whole lot of work. Y'all have backpack rallies every year. Y'all have empowerment breakfasts every year. Most of the time you're not getting funded for it, or you're paying for it out of your pocket because you're missing those little internal pieces. And that's where it all happens, right? The transition from Facebook to here. I talk about Shay Bynes, and I don't know if she's going to be listening to this podcast or not, but she has a book called Grace Over Grind, right? I don't know if I'm supposed to plug her book or not. But a few years ago, I guess it was 2016 or so, she wrote that book, Grace Over Grind. I bought the book, right? And at the time, I was kind of hustling. Like, I was like, look, I'm trying to get this money. I need to get these nonprofits to listen to me, but I need to make some money. I picked up her book, Grace Over Grind, and it kind of gave me some instruction, from God. It's like, look, you ain't got to grind this out. You just got to do what I tell you to do, and be the you that I made you to be, and do the work. Right. And that's how it's going to happen. So I popped up on Facebook 2016 talking about Be Worth Funding. Right. Shay probably didn't even know I had her book at the time, but she ended up messaging me and saying, hey, I think that should be a book title. You think you should write a book for this? Right. I wasn't a part of her program, hadn't worked with her before. She said, you know what? The Holy Spirit told me to come into your inbox and say this should be a book. because you keep saying be worth funding. I think it's up to you. Do what you want to do. But that's what happened. So long short story short, here's the book. Here we go. 2024, be worth funding.
So that's awesome. I really like your nickname, the capacity cultivator. Break that down for us.
Again, it's like when I think about capacity, and capacity building, I think about an elevator, right? So you have an elevator that's empty, has not yet met full capacity. You can ride this elevator by yourself all day, right? But then when people start to get into the elevator, you start to build capacity. You could actually exceed capacity. You're going to have to get another elevator, or some people are going to have to get off, right? And that's what my vision is for nonprofit organizations, where, yeah, you might be working at this alone right now, but after a while, you're going to have so much. You're going to have so many people giving into your organization. You're going to have so much support. Your team is going to be so full that you're going to have to move to a larger elevator, or people are going to have to start getting off, right? People start getting off so you can replace them with new people. Most of the time, newer organizations don't function well because they don't have the capacity to do so. And sometimes we try to reach beyond our capacity, which causes us to break, right? I know we love vision work, and I talk about this so much: mission versus vision. Mission is what you're doing right now. Vision is what you do at some point in the future. And everybody likes to talk about the vision. They're like, God gave me a vision. I got to do this thing. I got to do this thing. But they forget the process of first building the capacity up so that you can go over into your vision, working what you're trying to do right now. Once people see that you're fulfilling the need now, they're going to pay you to go into your vision. They're going to help you to go into your vision. I talk about the fact that missions is what you're doing now. You're walking along this, think about it as you're walking along this path, right? As you walk along this path, you're collecting partners. So that capacity, when you're filling up the elevator, you're collecting friends, you're collecting donors. So your elevator is starting to fill up, and you're collecting capacity along the way, right? Eventually, you're going to reach your vision. At vision point, you either get a bigger elevator, a bigger car to put your folk in, or people start getting off. People getting off is not a bad thing. It just gives you room for new people, right? Or to keep on, or to look forward to your next vision and go to the next thing. But what happens with a lot of us is that we get out and we get our organization started and we immediately think about vision. Again, vision is not a bad thing. But when we do that, we forget to collect people and processes and partners along the way. So now we're over here, we can't do it, and we're not successful. Then we fall out and we quit the organization and we say money is not coming fast enough and blah, 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 because we didn't take the steps along the way to build capacity.
I really like that. I knew it was deep. I knew that it was some more to it than just, capacity building and capacity cultivating are two different things. But what it makes me think about is being a good steward, right? Because we can give you all the money in the world. Let's say you get the grants. Let's say you get the things. Let's say you fund your NGO, your nonprofit for the next 10 years. And then what? You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to get something. It's another thing to cultivate something, become something that's cultivated is sustainable, right? Something that's cultivated, you can pass on to someone else. And it reminds me of what the Bible says about being a good steward, right? Over in Luke chapter 12, it talks about a rich man who's like, you know what? I got so much stuff. I think I'm going to build a bigger barn to hold all my stuff. But then he dies, and where does his stuff go? Like, you did all of this, but then what happens to it? And so I think a lot of times people want to gain, they want to expand, they want to have the capacity for all of these things, but either they build wrong, right? So that when the funds come, they don't know what to do, or they build so much that they don't know how to distribute. They don't know how to allocate all of their funds that they've received or to pass it on to others. So talk to us about when you get there, when you get the funding, when you get the resources, and how not to be raggedy with the resources.
and you're right? We have many people who have gotten it and just didn't know what to do with it. Think about the fact that, COVID money's just left, COVID response rescue, and, those dollars that you got from COVID, people got hundreds of thousands of dollars for this. And then right now, they're talking about, you know what, I got to close my doors. I don't have enough money to sustain, because you didn't manage it correctly, right? You didn't have anybody there to
Exactly.
hold you accountable with these monies, because you thought there wasn't going to be any kind of accountability, which they're coming back and they're doing this. But at the same time, you got folk who are collecting grant monies, collecting sponsorship, support, and all this, and they just don't know what to do. This is why a team is important in a nonprofit organization, because that's why you call it an organization. An organization is a group of people who are brought together to meet a common goal. If you're in this by yourself, chances are you're not going to be able to steward like you're intended to, because you don't have anybody looking over you and say, you know what, make sure you put this in that program. Make sure you put this in that event. Make sure we have some record keeping system for our program numbers. Make sure, you don't have that going on. And a lot of times you have founders who are very territorial, and you can and develop founder syndrome, and they want to be over everything. They want to walk everything out by themselves. They want to be the secretary. They want to be the treasurer. They want to be the CEO, the EEO, and everybody else. All right, they want to do all that. And because they want to do all that, it's harder to manage the organization. And before you know it, it all falls apart. But if you have a team, your board, Jesus had the disciples. They did what we only
Come
read about a
on.
little bit, right? But he had
That
a group
part.
around him that helped to keep things in order. When folk were acting up in the crowd, they're like, hold up, don't come right here, don't do that, right? Don't do that real quick. Because he had these people
Right.
on his team that made sure things went like they were supposed to go. And for a lot of us, we don't want to do that. We want to be the boss lady. We want to be the CEO chick and all this kind of stuff, right? And when we do that kind of stuff, we lose control when we get the monies, when we get the fundraising, and we get the support that we need. And it looks like it's about us. If you're in a nonprofit organization, it's not supposed to be about you. If your face is the one I see every time, I'm not giving you any more money. So you start to get all this money and then it stops. And we'll get into this space where, you know what, I was doing really good at first, and now I'm not. Think about what you have done up until this point. Maybe when you started out, it was all about the mission. It was all about who you served and whatever. But now you got a little attention. You're like, okay, this is all about me. I'm boss lady, right? I'm boss lady. And people stop supporting you now because they don't care about you as the individual. They care about the people that you serve. So you want to get back to that. That's another part of why I did this whole thing, is because I want people to go back to the heart of service. We've lost it so much, right? We've lost a whole lot of that because we've gotten into social media. We've gotten into this me movement and me by me, and everything's about me, even my organization. And it's not about us. It's about those people we serve. And when we think about those people first, that's when we start seeing the funding coming in. That's when we really realize that, hey, I can't do this by myself. I need a team of people around me who are going to hold me accountable. Not who are just going to hold me accountable, but who's going to help me walk out this mission. A lot of us get burned out because we're trying to walk it out by ourselves. I'll do the program management, and I'll be the secretary, and I'll be the treasurer, and I'll do the workshops, and I'll host a fundraiser, right? And before you know it, you're so burned out, you can't accomplish anything. And I think that's where, the whole Be Worth funding thing is so much deeper than, hey, can I get a grant or can I get some money? What does my internal system look like? Do I have people who are going to hold me accountable? If I were to give you $1 million, is somebody on your board saying, hey, Ty, you can't take that $1 million and go over there to St. Thomas and buy you a Maserati. You got to put this on the folk, right? All of that plays into your funding worthiness, and this is what funders will be looking at.
So what I hear you saying is to keep your mission in front of you.
Exactly.
Really, like, first of all, you need to not be raggedy with how you are approaching getting these funds, but then you need to have it together enough to realize you need the accountability so that you can stay focused on the mission. Like, why am I doing this in the first place? Because really, money comes to people, right? It's really a matter of stewardship and how we're managing these things. Because the majority, if you live in the United States of America, you're practically rich. I mean, truly, truly you are. And so why are so many people in debt in the States if they're so rich, right? It's a mismanagement of funds. So not only are you not worth funding, you're not worth, investing in because you can't seem to manage what you have. And why would God give you more? right? That's why would anybody give you more if you can't
100%.
manage what you have? Yeah.
100%. And you used to keep your mission in front of you, right? What are you doing now? If I don't know you, I can't trust you into your vision, right?
Mhm.
And you're asking people for money who do not know you.
Right.
If I see you doing the work now, I can trust what you are doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my husband might can trust me into my vision because he knows me, right? My mama can trust me into my vision because she knows me. But folk on the street, they don't know me.
They
Right.
They want to know what I'm doing today. Can you feed these people today?
don't know.
So if you're saying, okay, I'm gonna build a grocery store, I don't know you enough.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been there. When you're proposing, when you're writing a grant, you call it a proposal, right? In the proposal, you're telling the funder what you plan to do. They don't know, right? This is why you have to give all this evidence in the proposal that you can do what you said you're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Just like when you're somebody's asking you to marry them, you court for a little bit. Y'all are courting. Now
Yeah.
I'm from Alabama. I say courting. Y'all know what I mean, right? Y'all dating.
Yes, yes, yes.
Y'all dating for a little bit, right? During this dating time, you get to find out who he is now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you start to trust it. Once the relationship builds, you start to trust him into his vision or into your future together. Because you
Mm.
can believe it. You can believe it based on what the actions are today.
Come
So
on,
when he
Ty.
asks you to marry him, or in the case of a grant, when I propose to you,
Come on. That's good. That is so good. When I propose to you. Mm. I tell you, that is so true. So, so true. As you learn somebody and you begin to come together
this is what
and then
and
you
that's part
have
of your
that
proposal.
opportunity to propose, I tell you, proposal, that's true. That's where you just start to writing and start to step out into those things. Yes, Ty.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the same thing that you just kind of apply those same principles. Where in my mission, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm setting the stage for my proposal, right? I'm walking this out now. I'm showing you evidence that this is what I could do today. If my proposal is saying, hey, I need for you to give me $100,000 so I can do this thing better, I've already proven to you in my mission that I can do this thing at this level. So you give me a couple more dollars, I'll do it at that level, right? But we're so caught up in the vision. And again, there's nothing wrong with vision because you have to have a vision. We know without a vision, the people will perish, right? We know that. You got to have a vision because you got to know where you're going. But you also have to understand what it is you're doing now, the mission of it. How does this play out today? How do I manage funds now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And this is going to carry you into your vision.
Yeah,
Hi.
absolutely. And then you also need to have a measure, right, for your success. How do you plan to evaluate the success of this project? Like when you're writing out a budget narrative and you're trying to say, I'm going to do this because it's one thing to have a reason for doing it. It's another thing to say, hey, I need this because of this, but I'm going to measure my success by X,
Mm-hmm.
Y, Z. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I know I've met my goal. So, like you said, without a vision, people perish. Without a mission, people don't get funded.
Exactly.
That
You got
part.
that. That's exactly right, right? And you talk, and when you say measuring things, you scare people, right? They're like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? And I talked about the fact that I taught research methods and statistics, and I love evaluation and all that. When I tell small grassroots, small community-based organizations, hey, that you too have to measure, they get terrified. They're like, oh Lord, how am I supposed to measure something? I don't know what to do, right? This is why we're not getting any money because folk who are giving you funds, they want to see evidence of your success. So they want to have those measures. They want to see evidence that you know how to spend the money correctly. So they want to see your finances, which is also measurements, right? How much did you have last year? How much do you have this year? How much did you spend in this program last year? How much you spend? And we're not keeping up with that, making ourselves appear raggedy. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing. We're proposing, and the program design looks good, right? We got a STEM program or a STEAM program or ministry or whatever, and it looks so great until you get to the evaluation piece. And they say, well, how do you know this makes a difference? And you're like, I don't know. Like the Lord told me that it made a difference. I have no idea. Like how it
Which
makes.
is not bad, but it just doesn't fly on paper. It just
No,
Yeah,
mm-mm.
some proposals it may fit into, But we want to know, how often did he tell you this? Like what day was that? Those kind of, if you're gonna get that there, but if not, how are you gonna measure success in your programs? What is it? What's the key performance indicators? What are you looking at? What's the baseline? If you're saying you're empowering women, and I hate that word empowerment, y'all, because it's so vague. I want to know, like, what kind of tools are you giving me? How do you know these tools are important? How do you know that I know how to utilize these tools?
Mm-hmm.
How are you
Tools,
measuring
goals, objectives. What's your method? What's your timeline? When are you going to get this done by? I've talked to so many people and they have no timeline. They're just like, I'm going to do it when I get it. I'm going to do it when, but no, you actually need to plan out. By this time, I plan to have this done using this. I've done it before in the past. You have to be specific. What problem are you addressing and when will it be done by? Is huge, and people don't get funded when they don't give those specifics because they really haven't thought it through all the way. And so I think for our audience and for our listeners today, we really need to pause and think about how you think about things, right? You need to meditate a little bit more, spend a little more time, dive a little deeper. And I mean, this applies to not just money. This applies to life. Why are you in the career that you are in? Why are you doing? I actually had a exercise with some women that I did when I did a talk, and we were talking about their motivation. And I told them, well, actually, this was at the last Launching Leaders Conference for Ministry on Mission. And I told them, I said, you need to know what your why is. And then when you figure that out, why is that your why? And then go deeper. But why? But why? But why? Until you get to the nitty gritty of why you're doing what you are doing. And then you can start building from there. Like, this is the result I want to see. So I got to start from here and build back up. And then guess what? I can put a dollar amount to that because I need X amount of dollars to do X amount of project within X amount of time. And I'm going to do that using this, right? So that your project narrative makes a little more sense. And then it's clear. I think that clarity is really that raggedy thing that people are lacking, right? Without the clarity, then we can't really see what you're seeing. Show me your vision in a way that makes sense to me. And now you don't look so raggedy after all,
Yes.
You're not so raggedy after all, right? And I like that, breaking it down. I always tell people, your purpose, knowing what your purpose is. First, you have to know what problem you're trying to solve if you're in an organization, because if you're not solving a problem, why are we even doing this, right? But your purpose is, why are you doing this thing? So that's my purpose. My mission is, what is the thing that I'm doing? And my vision is, how am I going to get there? So what is it I'm doing? How am I going to get there? And you have to wrap this all up together to one little package, right? And then if you're able to communicate that, you're able to make it clear to people, hey, this is what I want to do. If I'm coming to you on the street and I say, give me $20, and you say, how are you going to use it? And I say, I don't know. If I'm not clear, you're not clear. And if you're not clear, you're not going to give me your money.
That's just it. Right? If I'm not clear, you're not clear.
If I'm clear, I can make it clear. I can say, you know what? I'm going to take this $20. I'm going to buy, 3 $2 meals for somebody, and I'm going to buy soda or whatever. So now I'm clear on what I'm going to do with this money. You're going to be more likely to give it to me.
Yes.
I can tell you where it's going. I can tell you what difference it makes. If you tell me, hey, I got $20, can you give me 20? What are you going to do with this 20? Well, with this $20, I'm going to, give a 3% scholarship to somebody to join my STEM program. And if they join my STEM program, they're going to be able to know more about science, technology, engineering, and math, and maybe they're going to have their career set on science. So now Now I'm going to give you the money. But if you're saying, I don't know, or probably, or maybe, or think, well, sometimes, now we're in a mess. Because I don't care if it's $2 or $20. If you're not clear where my money going, I'm keeping it in my pocket.
Right. You have to know who you are asking, right? You got to research your funder. You need to understand what they want and how they want it and when they want it. And if you don't meet their proposal, you don't meet their guidelines, you don't meet what they're asking for, you're asking the wrong person, right?
That's the biggest thing, right? Asking the wrong. Sometimes somebody just asked me, like, what did I want my webinars to be for February, and I had all these crazy things like looking for funds in all the wrong places, like looking for love in all the wrong places. And sometimes we do that, right? Sometimes we're just kind of out here randomly looking for money. We're not asking the right people. First of all, there's some people out here who could care less about your mission. Like, I don't care. Depending on what you're doing, if that doesn't resonate with me, why are you asking me for money? Right? Now you're gonna spend all your time writing sponsorship letters, trying to get folks to give you some money for something they don't even care about.
They don't even
And
care.
if you're pressed for time, and a lot of y'all wait too late to get sponsorship and stuff together. If you press for time, you don't have time to build a relationship. You don't have time to convince them that your cause is something that's worth funding or anything. So now you're just out here passing out letters and wasting money and wasting paper.
Oops.
Because nobody cares, right? But if I know that you're the person I'm supposed to ask because we have something in common, I've done my research, I've taken a little time to go to your website or do whatever, I can come to you in a different way. I can tell you, hey, I know who you give to because I've researched you. I've looked at IRS. I saw your 990s. I can see your report. I know that you give to organizations like mine. When you approach somebody like that, it's hard for them to tell you no if you're telling the truth. They're either going to have to give you an excuse or give you a reason why they can't support you. Maybe we don't have any money, but you can't tell me that you don't support organizations like mine because I saw it. We don't even take that step. Take the time to look and research other funders to know whether or not they support the thing that we have going on.
Ty. I tell you, it's always been fire knowing you, and you always have a very specific and direct checklist of things to look through, advantages to take, ways to know very specifically how to not be raggedy, right? To get unraggedy. And I see and have noticed that you have been celebrated for that fact here recently. So I want to make sure to give you a shout out, just as we help to educate people, as Anita mentioned before, with the Launching Leaders Conference, and we bring in amazing people like you to share with business owners how to better grow their business, how to truly launch out and take those steps. So we will send everybody over for sure to ministryonmission.com to click the link and get their tickets for the upcoming event in October. So make sure you guys do go over there. But I want to say, with all of this amazing information that Ty has been sharing today, I'm excited to see her celebrated. I'm excited to see her celebrated. So recently, Ty, you received a beautiful award. As you guys heard her talking about, you have to make sure your things are in order, right? She received an amazing award in recognition of her outstanding annual revenue achievement. Come on up in here from Urban Awareness. Now, Ty, share with us a little bit about that. I'm so excited for you.
I ain't gonna tell you all my business about my revenue, but I made a lot of money. I made a lot of money. Urban awareness, urban awareness. So we have urban awareness is what I call my strategic partners. I didn't mention them before. When you came in, you talked about Ty Boone Consulting and Ty Boone Enterprises. Those are my businesses. But Urban Awareness USA, they are my strategic partners. I've been working with Urban Awareness USA since 2016, and it was just amazing how, when I tell you, when I talk about alignment and I'm talking about divine partnership, that's one of the things I always have to say. Urban Awareness USA. I was introduced to Urban Awareness USA back in 2016 from a friend who was actually a friend of my sister's, and she said, "You know what? I know this guy, Tracy Brown. He's looking for somebody to help form nonprofits for this thing that they call Urban Awareness USA." And I thought about you because that's what you do, and everybody knows that's what you do or whatever. So I connected with them, and that's what it's been since then. But when the level of professionalism, there's other consultants also on the platform. Urban Awareness has me, who is the nonprofit fund development consultant. There's Tracy Allen, who works with social enterprises. There's Jen Hudson, who does bookkeeping and accounting. There's Jamila Jackson, who does board development. There's Carla Ray Maxwell, who does major gifts and sponsorship. There's Maja, who does marketing. I mean, the team is just magnificent, and I'm glad to be a part of it. But yeah, I got an award, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, because and this is my second year in a row getting this award, y'all. Second year in a row, for having the best revenue of the partners. And I think it's just because of who the Lord is. He was like, Ty, you need to get this award 2 years in a row, and he gonna let me get it next year. That's all I got to say about that. I know we got, and again, I'm gonna go back, and I hope it's okay to share a little story, y'all. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so before 2016, so I met Urban West in 2016. I already had Ty Boone Enterprises. I actually started Ty Boone Enterprises in 2014. I had another business called Perfecting Wellness. I started that business in 2007, I believe. And during that time, I was doing contracts, I was working, I was doing whatever. Between 2007 and a couple of years before I started working with Urban Wellness USA, life for me was not a crystal stair. I'm just gonna tell you, it ain't, crystals coming up now. I can see the crystals. My award is crystal. Did you see that? It's like, I don't know, pseudo crystal or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But learning how to run a business, right? Learning how to manage a business, learning how not to be raggedy in business. It was a thing. It was a thing that I had to endure. Really kind of taking some hits sometimes where, the baby was out of Similac and my husband was like, look, girl, if you don't get off that whole entrepreneurship thing and go to the General Dollar or something, the baby gonna be hungry. Like you gotta go, like you gotta help brother out over here, right? It had gotten to one of those places where it was a struggle for a minute. I remember having, being in my house on the top floor washing dishes and hearing the repo man outside getting my car, like dead serious, right? And it's just a testament to me of how good God is, and how if you're patient and if you really understand your purpose and you stick with it, again, walking into that mission, not so much thinking about the vision. And it's hard to do sometimes because you're like, okay, God, I know I got all this stuff behind me. Y'all didn't see my CV, y'all just saw my bio, right? But I have all this stuff behind me where I've been published in several peer-reviewed journals before I was 21 years old, right? I've written a couple of books before I wrote this book, right? I have all these accolades and things going on. I'm like, Lord, why you got me right here broke right now? What's the deal? What's going on? And I think it wasn't until I met Urban Awareness USA and working with strategic partners who actually come in and they gonna pray for you, girl. They like, my first call with Mr. Brown, he was like, do you mind if I pray for you? I was like, come on, because I need Jesus all the way, right? Come on, do it right now. And being able to work in like that kind of environment to kind of shift me back from saying, okay, you know what, every day I'm hustling. Remember I talked about Shay Bond's book, and it came right in time. It's around 2016 too when that book came. I just realized that. But I was like, you know what, I ain't gonna be doing this hustling every day, because that's for the birds, and that ain't for me. So Lord, teach me how to gracefully do this work, and I know you're gonna bless me just because I know who you are, right? And because you know who I am. We got it together like that. Me and you a friend of mine, and I'm your friend, right? So come on, help me out, right? So around that time, I was reading Shay's book. I got connected with Urban Awareness USA, and it just seems like my mind changed, right? Where I didn't want to hustle anymore. I didn't want to go back to traditional work. I'd already left one business, started a new business, just trying to figure it out how to make this work or whatever. And then just by my sister's friend who said, hey, connect with them. I'm on Facebook and I found Shay's book and it said Grace Over Grind. And I put those two things together. And I was like, you know what? I can have this really strong strategic partner over here while I'm developing my business. We can work together to develop my business while I'm working in their business as an independent consultant. So I'm still doing my own thing. And I can do this gracefully. And the Lord gonna bless me. I'm not gonna worry about getting paid. I'm not gonna worry about hustling. I'm just gonna worry about doing what you told me to do. Whether that comes out, sometimes I'm on Facebook, people be like, Ty, you didn't have to say it like that. But I'm like, that's how he gave it to me. I'm sorry. I gotta give it to you just
sorry,
like that.
Not sorry.
Right. And being able to do that. And every time I tried to pull it back a little bit, like, okay, I ain't gonna say it like that. Every time I tried to pull it back a little bit, I felt the repercussions of it, right? I'm like, nah, that ain't what I want. So I'm gonna have to come on out and I'm gonna have to say it like he told me to say it, and I'm gonna have to do it like he told me to do it, so I can get what he has for me. And that's the whole story.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, Miss Ty, I feel like you kind of said what he told you to say and did what he told you to do with this most recent book and workbook that you have out right now. Because I noticed with those books as well, the Be Worth funding that you have happening in that moment right there. Yeah. I noticed that do I see a number one a best seller that came out of the release of you doing what God called you to do and saying yes to his call to you and then speaking clearly what he gave you to do. I believe I noticed some receipts there on the screenshots and such that you were sharing. Can you share with us a little bit about just that journey of release and how doing what God told you to do, you are now seeing the fruit
And that's
of
it.
being
That's it.
obedient?
Like I told you, I wrote a couple of books even before Be Worth Funding was here. Like none of them were bestsellers, but now even my other book is on the list, right? I'm like, okay, so look, that's in 2013. I wrote my first book about nonprofits, right? Didn't I may have gotten a quarter for it every now and then, right? But then when Be Worth Funding came out, it also rose in the ranks on the bestseller. Be Worth Funding bestseller since September when it came out, September 22nd. Hung in the bestseller list, number one. It goes back number one, number three, whatever, but it's up there. And then my Show Me the Money book is also now in that list. And it wasn't in 2013, but 2013 was my hustle year. Yeah, that was my hustle year, right? 2013. I'm like, okay, I gotta write a book. I don't know. Let me get this done. Because if people are writing books and they're getting money, so let me write a book because I was hustling. So it wasn't the same kind of grace. It wasn't the same kind of process that went into Be Worth Funding. And I can tell the difference. But even with that, the Lord said, you know what? We're gonna go back and get that too. We know you didn't know what you was doing over there. We know you didn't put the first over there. But just because now you're getting it together, I'm gonna help you get it together. I'm gonna go back and pull that one up too.
Come on.
Like that. I forgot all about the thing on with the Show Me the Money book. I forgot all about it. And I'm like, look. There it is. Where is money coming from in my account? It's like, what book is that? What is it? It was the other book. But to think about it, I'm like, 2013. 2013 was the same year they were getting my car out of the driveway. Right? That was the year I wrote that book. But the reason for it, even though it's a good book, the reason for it was more selfish for me. Let me see if I can let me make me a couple dollars off this book. Everybody else write a book, I'm gonna write a book. Be Worth Funding was birthed out of really what I saw the need to be. Where people they needed to not be raggedy. They need to know the process of straightening up their organizations. They needed it then too. But again, the focus was different. And I feel like because the focus was different, he is bringing something new out of Be Worth Funding that could have never been brought out of Show Me the Money.
Man, oh man. I tell you, well, we are just extremely excited about all of the things that you are doing. It is amazing to see God work in our lives. And it's so beautiful to see the fruit of your labor and your decision to move in the grace that God has provided you. Sitting here, it has just really encouraged me and just caused my faith level to rise and caused my yes to rise and caused my desire to move in more ordered action to rise so that I am aligning the things that I am doing with what God has truly called me to do in order. So that I'm no longer raggedy in any area in my life, but truly walking right in the order and righteousness that he has called us to. And that is truly what I see in what you have been doing, right? So sharing with the populace about the things that you run into when you talk to people, when you see things on social media, and it causes you to question, like, well, really, okay, what you doing out here in these streets? Because I'm gonna need you to, pull it up a little bit better while you out here asking for the funds to keep doing the good work. Like you said, people are worthy, right, of the funding, but the methods and the calculations that we need to be doing and keeping track of, that's got to be there in order for people to get to know us, to build that relationship, for the proposal to even make sense, right? We have to make sure that there's that knowledge, that information, and that background and history that is there for people to be able to say yes or no to what we're doing. And so having someone like you that has not only the history of receiving it, right? So writing the grants, but then also being in the locations and on the boards to look at things and be like, I don't know. What you said there right now don't really make sense. I don't know why you need $30,000 in transportation and you're taking one person to one thing a week, but so to hear you even talk about those stories are just really encouraging to remind me, and I'm sure our listeners, of how to better take steps to do what it is that we are called to do in excellence. And so thank you so much, Ty. Before we head out, Dr. Anita and Ty, if there's anything that you would like to leave us with today as we wrap up, what might that be?
Don't be raggedy. Don't be raggedy out here in these nonprofit streets, or any streets for that matter, right? Make sure you have your internal processes together. For nonprofit organizations, your board is so very important. Make sure that you have your board in place and your boards together. Your budgets are important. Don't discount your budgets, okay? This is something that you should be sitting down with your board with every year to understand, what kind of money are we looking at? What are we projected for revenue? What are we projecting for expenses? What are our goals to bring this money in? What kind of processes do we need to take in order to make this happen? How are we going to be held accountable for that? Those things, just at a minimum of what you need to be taking care of with your nonprofit organizations, getting your programs in order, understanding what problem you solve. If you do not know what problem you solve, then you're probably not going to get any money, because people pay you to solve problems in these nonprofit streets. That's about all I have. Y'all need to know how to contact me or something. Y'all can go to my website at tybooneconsulting.com, or also at tyboone.com.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ty, thank you so much for being with us today. You are truly a marketplace minister out here, showing people how to do it and how to do it correct and how not to be raggedy. And I love it. I love that you are being you. I appreciate that you are taking the time to educate people, because truly that's my heart, is education. And so, it's one thing to not have a vision. It's another thing to be ignorant of the things that are available to you that you can't take advantage of because you just don't know. So thank you for writing your books. Thank you for all of the programs and opportunities that you give people to improve themselves and their businesses. We hope that everyone watching today has taken full advantage of all of this free advice and free consultation given today by Ty Boone. And I pray that God will continue to increase you more and more. Thank you for being with us today. And hey, if you're watching our show today and you have not registered for the Launching Leaders Conference, why not? Let's learn more about business, how to build ourselves, how to do things better and with better purpose and with better clarity, so that we can really make the impact, really, that we want to make in the world through the things that we offer to our customers, our clients, and to all of those that we are called to serve. Thanks for joining us here at Ministry on Mission today. Take care until next time. Bye.
Thank you for joining Ministry on Mission TV. On behalf of Drs. Anita McCaney and Tamisha D. Walker, we invite you to connect in the community and online at Ministry on Mission. Here at Ministry on Mission TV, we equip and encourage women to start their ministry and finish the mission. Remember,
Isaiah 40:3. Prepare on purpose.
Mark 1:3. Let's hear your voice.